Creating new mobile experiences and studying how those experiences are used in people's everyday life. And I'll talk about our online version that had over 36,000 students from all over the world, including a few hundred from here in Peru, and how the online education can transform the way that people learn all over the world. So I teach at MIT, and MIT is a bit different place than a lot of places in the world. We have robots that smile at you and interact with you. We have walls that are interactive and you can touch. You can dial phones on your fingers. And MIT has been exploring wearable computing for decades now. MIT is a culture that encourages people to build and create and be innovative in everything that they do. And this is what our classrooms look like. They don't tend to look like someone standing in front lecturing to a crowd. There's Walter Lewin on a swing teaching physics. There's a robotics competition in the bottom one where students are building and creating robots that compete against each other. And in the process, they learn how to machine and how to design and how to build machines that can withstand the impact of other students' devices. And also at the bottom is a poster session in the class that I teach, where students are sharing their ideas with each other, learning from each other, being inspired by each other. So it's not a classroom where I'm there lecturing all the time. I really encourage the students to work together. And so I think the ideal anatomy of a class is a combination of theory and practice. You can have a little lecture, you can give the students some information, enough to help them explore and help them see what some of the possibilities are. But then have project-based learning where they can then go explore that domain, have open-ended design problems, and research projects that can really push the boundaries of what can be done. And having lots of feedback along the way, interaction with fellow students, interaction with course staff. And MIT really creates this innovation culture for everyone who's there. Providing startup funds for people who want to take their ideas beyond the classroom. Having innovation centers on campus and IP arrangements so students can go and develop their own ideas and take what they've created in the classroom out into a company. And having accelerators within graduate programs so students can get the help they need from professionals who've done it before and who have had ideas and taken them to market before. And all of that's really important in trying to create a culture of innovation. And this comes from some long-standing theory in education. Thinking about constructivism, having students create their own experience in the classroom, really having them be in charge and actively creating knowledge through their own experiences, and having class time for students to engage with each other and gather feedback on their ideas from their fellow classmates, from their instructors, from their teaching assistants, and really building that knowledge on their own and exploring something they're very passionate about themselves. So people often ask me, how do you teach innovation? You teach at MIT, you have this class where people create these mobile apps and turn them into startups. And innovation isn't something you can teach. It's an approach to learning and understanding. My classes don't have any exams. They don't have any right or wrong answers. They have projects. They have ways that students can work together, build something new, and explore something that they're very, very passionate about. In parallel with this, there has been a platform called edX, developed by some folks at MIT and Harvard. And this is a platform to bring that education style of MIT to the world. There are now 39 universities participating. There are hundreds of courses available. And over 2.1 million students took classes on this platform in the last few years. And I had the pleasure of putting my class online this past year for other people, for people all over the world to take. And I'll be talking a bit about that in the later part of this talk. But basically on edX, it's more than just lectures and exams. There are short mini lectures, maybe 5 or 10 minutes long, by faculty members. But then there are hands-on, project-based problems for students to really engage in that material, apply it to make something that they're really passionate and excited about. And we set up discussion groups with students from all around the world. So a student in Peru could talk to a student in Spain and talk about their projects, talk about their ideas, get feedback from people from very, very different places in the world. And some opportunities that MOOCs bring are bringing that content into your own classes, into your own high school classes, into your own university classes, where students can watch the videos from the experts from universities all over the world online, but then come to the classroom to engage with each other and engage with you, the teachers, about their ideas. So you don't have to spend your time as a teacher just giving information. That information is available and students can watch that and engage with that from these videos, and you can spend the time really helping them explore how to apply those ideas. And that's this idea of a flipped classroom, where students are actually doing the learning, watching the videos, getting the material outside of the classroom, and come to the classroom to engage with each other based on that information. I wanted to talk about a few other opportunities that I see as really encouraging innovation culture and encouraging students to innovate. One of these is the first robotics competition. And this is an international robotics competition now where students create these robots that play a sport with each other and against each other. And this is, again, a perfect chance for students to apply the things that they've been learning in physics, the things that they're learning in a machine shop class or a drafting class. And they can actually apply it and make this robot compete against other teams and have a lot of fun doing it. And we'll learn a lot more of the practical things that are necessary to actually engineer something than they would ever learn in a standard class. Another opportunity for younger students, those of you who are engaged with elementary school students, is this idea called squishy circuits from Anne-Marie Thomas. And the idea here is that you can build simple Play-Doh-based electronics. You can make a conductive dough and a resistive dough, and then you can stick LEDs and motors and things and really make that Play-Doh come alive. And the students here are learning electrical engineering. They're learning, you know, how electricity conducts, how to put motors and LEDs and make these really interactive objects. But these 3- and 4-year-olds are doing this. So this is another tool you can use in your classroom to really engage students around something that normally might not be taught until much later in high school, but you can engage them and get them excited about building and creating something themselves at a very early age. And another one is the Arduino and the LilyPad. And these are being used in classrooms all over the world now, where students are creating their own electronics. And LilyPad is a wearable version of the Arduino that you can sew into clothing, into bags, into other devices. It was developed by Leah Beakley from MIT. And you can see some examples here. The one on the bottom is Leah with a turn signal jacket. So when she's biking, she can just squeeze the cuff on her wrist, and it lights up a turn signal on the back of her jacket. This is something that anyone can make. There are workshops with middle school students and high school students building these kinds of things. And the guy on the right there has a shirt that lights up when he has email. And so these are things, students can build these things that they're interested in, they're excited about, they're a little wacky, a little fun, but they're learning and applying that knowledge through creating something. Maker spaces are another example of places where people can come together to create. So innovation is really a way of thinking. It's something that should be integrated into everyday classes throughout a curriculum. And as teachers, you can take advantage of all of these rich online resources, videos from edX and Coursera, tools like Arduino and LilyPad and squishy circuits, or competitions like First Robotics, to really get your students excited about applying the knowledge that they learn and going beyond what the book has to teach them. So the second part of my talk here is a case study talking about how I teach my class at MIT and how I've adapted it to work online. And the class that I teach is called Building Mobile Experiences. And it covers everything from coming up with an idea of a new application to build, to designing it, building it, testing it, learning how people adopt it out in the world. It's a lot to squeeze into a 12-week semester, but the students have a lot of fun with it. So the class format, I have 3 hours with my students on Tuesday nights for 12 weeks. And they take this semester-long project from a concept to a functional application at the end of the semester. And I split those 3 hours into a short lecture at the start, and then a lot of time for students to work together, to share what they're working on, to get feedback from each other, to have some critique from each other and from the teaching staff, so that they can really improve their idea every single week. I teach it with Ed Barrett from the Comparative Media Studies Department, and we've had a variety of really, really wonderful TAs over the years who have helped us teach the class and scale it up. The students are mostly undergraduates, upper-level undergraduates at MIT. We have a few master's students and graduate students from the computer science department as well. One of the things I love about the class is it's only about half computer science students. The rest are from all over MIT with a lot of rich backgrounds. And almost none have heard of human-computer interaction when they start the class. And so they're really starting on to learn these topics and go off to do great things in their lives after the class is over. The class has been growing really rapidly. We're at about 150 students in person. But of all the students we've taught in those 8 years of teaching, you can see how many more we had when we took it online. And we were really excited to bring it online and reach 36,000 students this past year. So I think I'll just go a little bit through how the class works. We start by teaching students about what mobile computing is, how it's evolved, how you can go out and study what people do today. And that's a short lecture at the start of the first class. And then the students are running. By the end of that first class, they've got groups, they're working together, they have a domain of interest that they want to build an application in, and they're planning a study, and they're running that study in the very first week to understand how people behave in the area that they're thinking about. So if they want to build an app in music, they study how people are using music in their lives today. And then the second class, you can see, again, very hands-on. This isn't me lecturing. This is the students taking all their data, taking all their ideas, putting them together, and coming up with an application that they want to build. And they're working together in the classroom throughout that whole period. Then they present to us. They tell us what they want to build for the semester. We give them feedback. Their fellow students give them feedback. We have invited guests come in from industry to give the students feedback about the things that they want to make. We have them design the application, starting just on paper, sketching out what it's going to look like, understanding how the user will navigate through the application over time. And then again, we get them out of their seats. We get them interacting with each other, testing those paper prototypes, understanding how one might navigate through a particular application just by clicking on paper and pretending it was a mobile phone. So before they even spend time building anything, writing code, we have them testing it here in paper. But again, it's not a lecture. They're out of their seats. They're working with each other throughout the class. We have a class just talking about some other topics in mobile computing, and then we have the students get up and present back to us again. We have a poster and demo session where they set up little posters talking about the projects that they've built. They have a working demo of the app on a phone by this point, and then we engage with them. They talk to each other. They all go and visit each other's projects. They learn about what they're doing. They all get feedback from each other. So every team is getting feedback from 147 other students, as well as the teaching staff, as well as people we invite in. And it's a really great chance for them to continue improving their ideas and get a lot of critical thought on what they're working on. We continue the class with having them go out and evaluate how people actually use that system. And so they conduct a 2-week field study where people are using their app and they're studying how people use it over that time. We talk about how they might turn their app into a product and actually go forward with the idea in the marketplace. And then we have the final presentations. And they're demoing their apps. They're talking to us about their ideas. They're talking to us about potential for the future and companies they might want to start with the ideas that they've developed in the class. And they make some really cool projects. This is one where they made a social alarm clock. So let's say I'm on a soccer team and we all need to get up early for a trip to a match. My whole team can be on this alarm. And if someone doesn't get up, it will text all the other people on the team and say, they haven't woken up yet. And so you have this social pressure to be awake, to be out there with everybody else for that shared event. This is another project that looked at photo taking and realized that the audio that's going on in the background when you take a photo is often something that you want to capture. And so this allowed you to record a short audio clip along with your photo when you were taking photos. This was a really fun group that was working on a different project at the MIT Media Lab and actually realized that during the night, you have a slight amount of sweat. You have a galvanic skin response to the sleep states that you're in. So when you exit a sleep state, you could actually detect that on your wrist with a sensor that can sense the conductivity of your skin. And so they made an alarm clock where you can say, wake me up when I get out of a sleep cycle. So I'm not wasting time sleeping. And it connected to a little bracelet you could wear on your wrist. This was another project that looked at creating little scripts for the morning. Let's say every morning you go read your Gmail, and then you go on Facebook, and then you read the New York Times. They had a little script where you could just shake the phone, and it would move on to the next app. So you wouldn't have to go back to the home screen, search for the next app you wanted to watch. You just shake your phone, and the new app would pop up. So there are a lot of really, really neat things that have been built in the class. We also did a fun collaboration with Leah Beakley's new textiles class to make wearables that connected to people's phones. So you can see one here is a pillow that when you wake up, the color of the LED on the pillow will be the weather for the day. So if it's blue, it's going to be very cold. If it's red, it's going to be very hot. It would blink if it was going to rain or snow. And so you could kind of be prepared for the day from the moment you opened your eyes in the morning, which is a really just fun way to think about how can we build physical things that work with the phones and really get students thinking beyond just making an app, something that works on the screen, to making something that works with objects in our everyday lives. So we took this class online this past year, and we had 36,000 students from all over the world. You can see all the countries that are represented here. And this same method, this project-based learning, where students were making their own novel mobile app throughout the semester. So what does this online class look like? Here are some of the videos that we posted where we're actually demonstrating some interview methods for students. So here Ed and I and Audubon and I are interviewing each other and showing students what those methods really look like. We've got some multiple choice and some fill-in-the-blank questions for people to just check their understanding. And then we have some discussion forums where students can discuss with each other and share information, share ideas, get feedback from some of the other 36,000 students all over the world. We did some really innovative things with the classes. We had an online poster and demo session. So I showed you the one that we had at MIT before. But here we had students go online on Google Hangouts. And anyone else in the world who was taking the class could join that Google Hangout. And they could talk to the students. They could have them show the demo. They could ask them questions. And they could interact with students from all over the world live via video, show off the things that they're making, get feedback on it from people from many, many different countries all over the world. And we also had peer grading. So the students graded each other on the assignments that they turned in. And we had very set rubrics, and so it was shown as very fair by the students that they were graded very well by each other on the work that they had done in the course. And the grading, we held the students to the same standards as our MIT class, and we had really great results. All the students who finished did very, very well on all of the assignments and learned just as much from this online class as they would have learned from the class in person at MIT. We had these discussion forums where they could share ideas with each other, and we left it completely open to be whatever they wanted. Here's a student who proposed having a translation exchange, where you could give all the strings that are in your app to another student from somewhere else in the world, and they could translate that into their language. So then when your app is released as a part of the class, it can work in many different languages, languages that you don't even speak. And you could return the favor for a student who might not know Spanish, and you could translate it into Spanish for them. So we had some really neat projects from this. One of them was a student in Bogota, and he started out, he wanted to make an app for the Transmilenio system, the bus rapid transit system that they have there. But what he realized in his initial interview is that people didn't want to take the phone out while they're waiting for the bus because they were afraid of it getting robbed. they have a lot of theft on the bus rapid transit. And so he made this system where you could just tap your pocket and tap your phone a couple times, and it would vibrate back to you the number of minutes until the bus came. It would detect the tapping, it would go off with GPS, find the location, look up the bus schedule for that location, and vibrate back to you the number of minutes you had to wait. And then you don't have to take your phone out, it's not going to get robbed, and you can know when the bus is going to come. So I really loved those kinds of applications that were created this year, things that we never would have seen come out of our class in Boston, but really felt and met the local contexts in all of the places that our students were taking the class. And we had students all over the world benefiting from this globally available course, innovating for their own cities, for their own circumstances, for their own cultures. And that's something that I think is a really powerful potential of an online class, and then get students talking to each other. So other students from all over the world can learn what it's like to take the bus rapid transit in Bogota. They can learn about these circumstances that are very, very different from their own, and communicate with students through these discussion forums and live video. So for this class, all the material is available. Like all edX classes, it's all free. It's all posted on the edX.org website. So any of you who want to check out any of the lectures, reuse any of it in your classrooms, it's all there for you to use. And it can be remixed into your own courses that you're offering. You could take a video here, a video there, a piece of an assignment, and use it in your own classes. And we'll be offering it again in February. It will start the first week of February for anyone who would like to enroll for an online certificate from edX and MayéuTIC. It would be great to see hundreds of people from Peru or thousands of people from Peru signing up to take this class. That would be really, really excellent to see. So just some closing thoughts on innovation. Really, all classes throughout a curriculum should incorporate open-ended problems, and really should encourage innovative solutions, should encourage students to go beyond what a textbook can teach them and apply it in some way that they're really passionate about and is based on their own interests, and not just what an assignment says they need to go home and do tonight for their homework. And schools should promote activities where students can invent and really be creative. Things like the first robotics competition, or squishy circuits, or Arduino and LilyPad. These are all ways that students can apply their knowledge on a project that they really care about and are passionate about. And then these online educational materials can be leveraged, either single videos or entire classes. You can offer that flipped classroom where students are learning by watching from others, and then they're coming together to work together, to share their ideas, to debate and discuss, and do a lot of things that education was originally set up to do, and really have a debate and discussion about ideas, instead of just sitting there passively learning material that they're required to memorize by rote. So I'd like to thank you all again for inviting me here, and I look forward to the question session.